morning, Sir General.
All set for tomorrow?
I think so, Sir Gordon.
Well, there's not much doubt about it.
So I've heard.
Wilder may still fight.
Can he win?
Not this time, I fancy.
He's been in. He went out again.
Well, it's rather important. Do you know where he's gone?
He didn't tell me.
Doesn't tell you anything, does he?
Said he won't be long.
For that matter, he doesn't tell anybody anything.
Can I get Mr. Corbett to ring you?
You know, sometimes I wonder you put up with him.
Shall I let you know when he's free?
No, don't worry. I'll wait, thanks.
How well are you up on your parliamentary secretaries?
Which one?
No, Alistair Burton.
Yes, I've met him.
To get on.
The minister's just appointed Burton to take charge of their end of the VTOL contract. He's to report direct to the minister.
That's interesting.
It's confidential as yet, not official. He'll need special handling.
Right.
About tomorrow afternoon, we should have completed your business by about 3 o'clock. There's no reason why you shouldn't join us then.
Wilder permitting.
Oh, your chairman's done a lot of groundwork. Wilder knows he could only be defeated.
You may even get his vote.
That would be funny.
He's trying to reach you on the tannoy.
I've asked you not to unless it's urgent.
Miss Challis seemed to think it was.
What does she want?
To confirm your lunch date. Also to ask if you knew that Mr. Wilder fixed an appointment with the ministry to talk about the VTOL production costs.
Well, it's about time, too. When?
Tomorrow at 2:30.
2:30. Wilder will be in the middle of a group board meeting then.
I heard he'd been called to Paris or something.
Get Henderson over here.
Oh, that was the other thing. He's waiting for you in your office.
Wilder left you to do his dirty work for him again?
He asked me to see you because he was in a hurry to get away.
Yes, I bet he was.
Some NATO business came up suddenly, and it was rather urgent.
Realized he couldn't put off telling the ministry any longer. I might have guessed Wilder would leave me holding this one.
John doesn't duck trouble, David.
Doesn't he? The ministry aren't going to jump for joy when they find out the VTOL's going to cost 18 million more than the figure we quoted just a few weeks ago.
Well, they knew that was a provisional figure.
Well, not that provisional.
Anyway, John's already seen the ministry, and they've agreed unofficially the extra money's justified.
Well, what's the ministry meeting for, then?
For you to tell them officially.
Well, you're the group sales director. I'm only the managing director of a subsidiary company.
Well, not after tomorrow. If Sir Gordon gets his majority, you'll be on the group board, too.
Wilder's fought my appointment every inch of the way. Has he slipped off to Paris because he knows he can't win?
He asked me to vote for you, David.
And he calls a ministry meeting at 2:30, neatly timed to coincide with the board meeting, so that I shall be unable to take my place on it.
Well, perhaps he thought the ministry meeting was more important.
Who's coming? Cullen, I suppose.
Yes, with an assistant.
I think I'll make it earlier.
Ah. And the earlier you make it, the longer they'll talk.
The least we can do is give them lunch. It's costing them 18 million.
How very considerate of you.
Miss Evans?
Yes, Mr. Corbett?
Come in and take a memo, will you? Don, why don't you join us?
Oh, well, I don't...
Well, Wilder won't mind. You'll be able to tell him what went on.
All right.
A note to Alistair Burton of the ministry. Your colleagues, Mr. Cullen and his assistant, are lunching with me tomorrow. Later, we shall discuss revised production cost estimates for the VTOL. I realize this is short notice, but it will be most helpful if you could join us at midday. Oh, and while you're here, perhaps you'll be interested in a flight in the VTOL. A joyride should get him.
Isn't there an Australian Air Force demonstration tomorrow?
Well, there's more than one VTOL, isn't there?
How shall I send it?
By hand. Get Wilder's chauffeur to take it. Wilder won't be needing him.
Yes, Mr. Corbett.
And then get me Cullen on the phone.
For a while, it looked as though I wasn't going to be able to get an aircraft.
Henry, those Australian Air Force boys are a bit touchy about cancelled appointments. What are you using?
The Farnborough aircraft. I got it back on loan.
Oh, that'll please Corbett.
Well, it's only for a day. It doesn't upset anything.
Well, you better tell him or there'll be another row.
Haven't you noticed he's trying to be a bit nicer lately?
Well, don't let that fool you. You can slip back easily enough.
Wilder's politicking gets so involved that sometimes I lose track of it.
So I wish I could share your levity. I regard it rather more seriously. A man as unprincipled as Wilder is capable of almost anything.
But that's all you've heard, simply that he's been seeing more than usual of the minister.
That's enough to disturb me.
You're our MP, Gerald. You should be able to find out what's behind it.
Well, how can I? I mean, how can I go to the minister and ask him? Can I admit that Wilder doesn't take us into his confidence?
That's Wilder's tactics. Keep everyone in ignorance until he's ready to present a dramatic and often unpleasant fait accompli.
Yes, I can still break out into a cold sweat at the thought of some of Wilder's fait accomplis.
I sympathize. But if you've nothing more concrete, why bring it up? There's nothing we can do.
I have my own suspicions, Gordon. Wilder's not without allies.
What suspicions have you got?
I think it's the New Year's honors list. Wilder's still chasing his K.
Would that be so terrible? Knighthood might calm it down. Did you? Personally, I hope that's all he's up to.
You think it's something else?
I only know what you've told me. No, what worries me more is this meeting Wilder's arranged with the ministry over production costs. That's not like him.
Ah, you don't understand the man's psychology as I do.
It's very like him. And we insist on bringing Corbett onto the board.
So Wilder gives him a nasty job. Yes, he even fixes the time so that Corbett can't take his place on the board until the next meeting.
I'd credit him with more subtlety, and there's Corbett's breathing down his neck. No, this directorship must worry him. It alters the balance of power. Ideally, what he needs now is some way of discrediting Corbett.
We shall see through whatever he's up to. I mean, he can't plot against Corbett without our recognizing it.
Well, I don't see how either. But he'll have something up his sleeve.
Well, if you think that's the best way, Henry, you're the expert.
Thank you. There is one other thing. I'm using the Farnborough aircraft for the Australian test tomorrow. Doesn't interfere with anything they had planned.
What's happened to the 566?
Oh, we had to ground it. There's a report on its way to you. More trouble with the hydraulics. Bradley had to use the emergency manual system to land this morning.
Did he?
Yes, but it doesn't upset anything. There's only the Australian flight.
It upsets me. I need the Farnborough aircraft. There's a parliamentary secretary coming down tomorrow. You'll have to cancel the Australian visit.
I'm afraid that's not possible. I mean, this was planned weeks ago by Wilder.
Damn Wilder and his arrangements. The minister's a sight more important than a bunch of Australians who are only window shopping anyway.
Excuse me, I don't think that's quite the point. The point is that this is an arrangement that was made and confirmed.
Your job is to fly the planes, Forbes. Mine is to tell you when and who you fly.
Yes, you have said that before.
Even Wilder thinks this has priority. He's arranged for a ministry party to come down tomorrow to discuss production veto costs.
Yes, so I've been told.
Mr. Corbett?
In a minute, I'm busy. I think that Alistair Burton should also be there. I've invited him and offered him a flight.
Well, there isn't an aircraft available.
Well, if Burton wants a flight, he must have one.
Yes, but it's simply not possible tomorrow. If you'd take my advice, it'd be wise to cancel the invitation.
Why would it be wise?
Obviously, it would be
Who
wise.
told you there was a ministry party coming down tomorrow, by the way?
It's no secret, is it?
Not to Henderson, no.
Look, I don't know what this has got to do with it. But there's no reason for me to deny that Henderson mentioned it to me.
He also hinted at something which makes you think I would be wise not to have Burton here.
I didn't say anything of the sort.
He has Mr. Forbes with him at the moment, Sir Gordon. Is it urgent? Can I ask him to ring you back? Yes, I will. Yes, goodbye.
I banged into your old boss the other day. Bill Ryan. He sends you his regards.
Oh, how is he? Has he got over it?
Well, he's not doing anything, if that's what you mean. And what can he do? He feels rather badly about it.
Expect he does. Whatever way they wrap it up, he was still pushed out.
Yes, he didn't send his regards to David Corbett.
It was Mr. Wilder who started
Yes,
it.
well, whoever it was, You know, I wonder if Bill Ryan didn't feel that Corbett might have fought a bit more for him.
You don't know the pressures they put on him. All this fighting and scheming just because he won't do everything their way, because he's not a yes man.
What did you want me for, earlier?
Oh, Mr. Fraser wanted you.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't mean Mr.
I know what you meant.
I thought I'd better tell you. He seems to think that you know something that makes me think that it would be unwise for him to have Burton here.
Oh.
What are you laughing at?
I just caught myself wishing for the good old days when John Wilder was the only stirrer.
Corbett outclasses him.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do about these Australians?
Oh, what can I do except cancel it?
Well, I'd get him to do that if I were you. I mean, it's not your job.
Look, if I start saying that, he'll start saying that it's your job. It is, after all, a sales department demo.
Yes, well, it is my job, really. Corbett getting everybody to do everybody else's jobs, as usual.
Getting your story straight?
Thank you, Doctor.
While you're here, Henry, I wanted to invite you to join Henderson and myself when we lunch Burton and his crew tomorrow. After you've been flying him, it'll look a bit odd if you don't lunch with us.
Yes, well, how it looks is your affair, but I wouldn't mind meeting Burton again.
You have phoned the Australians, then, have you?
No, I'm just going to.
Well, don't do it right away. I'd like you here while I talk to Henderson.
Oh, what about?
Look, there's no point to this.
Haven't you mentioned it to him, then?
Yes, I have.
I thought you were going to deny it.
I certainly deny your interpretation of our conversation.
Wilder's taken you into his confidence, too, has he? You can be so certain.
If you'll excuse.
Forbes tells me you say I'll regret asking Burton down here tomorrow.
I said nothing of the sort.
Henderson.
Henry didn't say that. He's told me what he said.
Well, however he put it, that's what he meant.
I only meant that you would be wise to cancel the invitation because there's no aircraft available.
Right, Forbes.
Right.
You can be a bit more forthcoming now that he's gone.
Look, David, I assure you,
Never mind the assurances, all the glib salesman stories. Stick to the facts.
you've got the whole thing wrong.
I don't think so.
You misunderstood whatever.
Nothing to misunderstand.
Are you going to let me speak?
Yes, of course.
Look, you read something into a perfectly innocent statement. Henry simply said that, in his opinion, you shouldn't ask Alistair Burton.
Well, why?
Well, I don't know why. Maybe he thought you'd make a slip-up or something, and Burton being there wouldn't help.
You told me this was a routine meeting, just to confirm something the ministry had already agreed. What slip-up could I possibly make?
Well, I don't know what Henry had in mind. You know what these meetings are. Something can always go wrong. The unexpected.
I've handled plenty of ministry meetings before.
Never with 18 millions at stake.
They haven't really agreed the extra costs, then.
Oh, yes, they've agreed that, all right.
Well, then what is it? What's the snag?
I didn't say there was any snag.
They're over-committed on their estimates. They're surely not going to ask us to find the extra money.
No, of course not. I didn't say
I knew there was something. You've had guilt written all over you ever since I came into this office. You wanted me to go all unsuspecting to this meeting tomorrow, and suddenly in the middle of it to be faced with having to commit the company to £18 million.
Well, it's only for a year or so.
And Wilder expected me to be left looking foolish, floundering in front of the ministry.
Well, you asked Burton.
Revage will have to find the money. It's not so much.
18 million.
And from here on, you can keep right out of this. No running to Wilder. For a year or so, I'm indispensable. You're not.
Perhaps you won't be so indispensable after tomorrow.
Would you like something to drink with us?
You teetotalers seem to think everyone else drinks themselves to death.
Well, some of them do.
So you've had a busy morning.
In one way or another, yes.
Well, you must have got Wilder rattled.
Well, not yet. He's still setting the pace.
It's a nice dilemma, worthy of the old Wilder. If you refuse, you're in bad with the ministry.
We'll have to find that money.
Well, it won't be easy at this stage.
Where's the difficulty? Elbersons can't be that hard up. It's only a few millions.
Only a few millions. You've still a lot to learn. Only Whitehall can be that casual about money. They don't have to earn it.
Well, it's only paper money and a stroke of somebody's pen. Juggle a few balance sheets.
That's all there is to it?
It's underwritten by the government.
Well, it may look that simple to someone working on a government contract. Wait till you try to raise it in the city. You can't create millions out of nothing.
I thought that's just what you bankers did.
You read a couple of popular books on banking and think you're an expert. Money isn't a fiction. If you borrow 18 million, someone, somewhere, no matter how far removed, has got to have 18 million in £1 notes that they could pay across the counter.
Albertsons don't only lend their own money.
Let me teach you a few facts of life. Merchant banks aren't like the other banks, the joint stock banks. They have the big money. Our role is influence. Where we lead, they may follow.
That's fine. Lead them to Scott Furlong.
Oh, that's up to Sir Gordon. How does he feel about it?
We had a long session this morning. He's promised to do all he can.
He's glad of a chance to do something for Scott Furlong that John Wilder hasn't forced him to do. Wilder's even managed to row with James Cameron Grant now.
His own protege.
James is nobody's protégé. Wilder retained him to do a job, that's all.
What did they fight about?
Yes.
Me?
Your directorship in the group.
Grant supports me?
Well, it's obvious. You're the man in charge of what's going to be the biggest thing ever for Scott Furlong. You must be on the board.
Wilder doesn't think so.
And he won't leave it there if I know John Wilder.
Yes, well, that's it, John. I'm afraid he's guessed. I've been trying to get a chance to ring him all day. What? You're delighted? Well, you might have told me that. Fun for you, maybe. I've been sweating on the top line all day. Yes, that's what I told him. Yes, I can see that, John, but look, with you away and me holding the fort like this, maybe it'd be better if you told me what you were planning now. Oh, yes, it'll run its course, all right. Once Corbett gets his teeth into something, he never lets go. Huh? You're banking on it? John?
Of course, I wasn't much more than a boy then, new to banking. Here was a chance to win my spurs, I thought. Sheldrake was a very influential man. If I could bring it off, it'd be quite a feather in my cap.
This is all very interesting, Sir Gordon, but I
You
don't
don't see the connection.
No.
Bear with me, Corbett, you will. The business was sound, nothing wrong with it, that an infusion of short-term operating capital wouldn't cure.
Would you like a drink?
Yes, a small brandy, please. Bankers have an instinct. Something made me hold back from taking the proposal to my directors. Why had he come to us? I'd only met him very briefly. He was no particular friend of mine.
Soda or water?
Soda, please. I checked around and discovered that I was by no means the first he had approached. I turned him down. Thank you. You know, first drink of the evening after a busy day is a great pleasure. You miss a good deal as a teetotaler.
I think I'm beginning to see the point of your story.
It has too. 3 months later, he was dead of a heart condition. So much of the goodwill of the business depended upon his personality that after a long and difficult period, the business died too.
Well, no one at Scott Furlong is irreplaceable.
That I know. The city was a club in those days. To a large extent, it still is. Most of its members think the wisest course is to follow the crowd.
But not all.
If I'm to find this money, I must behave very circumspectly. If the word was to get round that I'd been turned down elsewhere...
Well, the answer to that is to act quickly before the word does get round.
I can't go openly to the city. At this stage, we'd look very silly. Now, it must come from one or more of our usual sources. So far, none of them's been able to make the money available, nor can I free it from our own resources.
Aren't you being a little overcautious, Sir Gordon?
Leave money matters to the professionals.
What was the other point to your story?
That despite personal glory, it's often wisest to say no.
How does that apply to this?
The ministry want our aircraft quite badly, I'm told. They also want us to finance part of it. Why should we? Tell them no.
I doubt if that's possible. They'll make it a condition for agreeing to the extra costs.
You could try.
Excuse me.
I thought you'd gone home.
You've told me to finish these notes for tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
If there's nothing else, Mr. Corbett.
No, nothing, thank you. Well, I could try, but finding the money's a safer bet. Miss Evans.
Corbett?
I won't be in first thing in the morning.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes?
Good night.
Good night.
Yes, I remembered your interest in classical music.
Well, I was very thoughtful of you, sir.
Oh, not at all. I couldn't use them, and I think it's so wrong to let tickets go to waste.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I particularly wanted to hear him.
It's something else I wanted to mention. I was down here, that's if I can, without seeming to interfere.
Of course, sir.
Well, I didn't want to make it official, but I had a telephone call last night from Group Captain Wolfe.
Really?
Yes, he was rather annoyed because you'd cancelled the Australian visit at such short notice.
But why did he phone you, sir? I spoke to him myself.
Yes, I know, but he felt he knew me well enough to complain. Not the sort of treatment they expect from us and all that.
Yes, I see. Well, I didn't tell Wolf this, of course, but I had to ground one of the Vitols yesterday, leaving only the Farnborough aircraft available. And that was required for the ministry demonstration.
Why on earth demonstrate to the ministry? I thought they'd come to talk about something quite different.
Yes, sir, but Corbett invited Alistair Burton down here. Promised him a flight.
Corbett did.
Morning.
Mr. Corbett. I was out of my office. They had trouble locating me.
Your assistant explained what I wanted to see you about.
Briefly, John Aspel passed you on to us.
That's right. We are going to be asked to find part of the finance for a government loan. I need a short period loan to cover it.
How long?
About a year. The total sum involved is 18 million, but I doubt if at any time we shall need more than 9 or 10.
This contract is signed.
No, we have an ITP, an intention to proceed. There'll be cancellation penalties before we need the money, which will cover you against loss.
Aircraft is an industry that I don't know much about. I know government contracts.
Then you'll know you're fully protected, Mr. Hellman.
What rate of interest do you have in mind?
Normal overdraft rates.
I doubt if you'll be as lucky as that. But we can come back to it.
I don't need to tell you that Scott Furlong Group has a lot of other business, too.
No, you don't need to tell me that. Why did you come to us?
John Aspel gave me your name.
Aren't you happy with Albertsons?
Yes, but I don't think that need concern you.
If you want to borrow this much money, Mr. Corbett, everything concerns me.
Albertsons can't make it available.
Until recently, I'd hardly heard of you, Mr. Corbett. I've heard of John Wilder.
Yes, Mr. Wilder's away.
Have you a copy of our current accounts with you? Profit and loss, work in hand, overdrafts, other commitments?
You won't need to see our accounts at this stage. We'll stand up to investigation. We're a public company.
Well, I know Scott Furlong. It's a group of companies for which I have the highest admiration.
Then you don't need to see our accounts until I know we're going to do business.
And I do. I couldn't think of involving my company until I'm able to reassure myself and my fellow directors on a dozen points.
Could you tell me, do you have the money, and would you consider lending it to us?
Well, it's possible. All I can say is it's possible.
You have to do better than that.
I'm afraid I can't.
I'm afraid I can't show you our accounts.
One of the penalties of doing what you're doing, Mr. Corbett, is that you have to reveal some of your business secrets.
Or not indiscriminately.
All I have to do is say, yes, we're interested. I'm simply being honest with you.
I knew you would be, otherwise I wouldn't have come. But you can't expect me to go trotting around the city showing confidential documents to every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's vaguely curious.
You've been trotting around the city, have you?
I told you I'd been to see Aspel.
And a number of others. Mr. Aspel's call was the third I've had about you this morning.
The old boy network.
I'm an old boy of a grammar school in the East End. Don't underestimate our city intelligence service, Mr. Corbett. It stops us making silly mistakes.
Like me.
Let me be impertinent and offer you a little advice.
Do.
Go back to your office. This sort of money, it's almost a new share issue. Can't get it this way. You'll do yourself and your company no good at all.
Chalice. He's in with the chairman. Oh, well, ask him to give me a ring, will you? If Sir Gordon doesn't know yet where he's been this morning. It's urgent. Yes, I will, Miss Chalice.
Did you think for a moment I wouldn't find out?
No, no.
Then why?
Because I intend to get my aircraft built.
Our aircraft is going to be built. We have a ministry undertaking.
Conditionally, we still have to find the extra finance.
There are ways of doing these things.
The ways don't matter. If I'd found that money...
And did you?
Not yet.
No, of course not. Only last night I told you to leave this to me.
Well, have you been successful?
Can't you see the distinction?
No, I can't.
You've placed myself in the bank in an impossibly embarrassing position, made us a laughingstock. We look ridiculously amateurish going cap in hand to the city now. Our finance should have been arranged and finalized months ago.
Our finance was arranged. If the politicians hadn't dreamed up this damn silly scheme, there'd have been no problem. I carefully explained that to everybody I saw.
Not quite in those terms, I trust. Well, that helps a bit, I suppose.
We still have to find that money.
I've had rather more success than you this morning. I have pledges for some of it.
How much?
Nothing like enough, I'm afraid. With what I can make available, about a half of what we need at any one time.
Well, what about the rest?
Miss Chalice is still trying. But I'm beginning to be rather doubtful about our chances.
Well, that's not good enough. You'll have to do better than that. We must have it.
There's no must. Have you forgotten you're going to persuade the ministry to drop their damn silly scheme?
I told you they won't wear that.
And I tell you not to commit this company for a penny until you know where it's coming from. Yes? Who? Yes, I'll tell you. Alistair Burton's car has just come through the gate.
Right, I'll go and meet him.
Did you invite him?
Yes.
I want to talk to you later about the wisdom of that, too. And remember, not one penny.
After your flight, we'll lunch and then perhaps a quick tour of the works before we get down to it.
The work's obligatory?
No, of course not.
That's sure an awful lot of factories, you know. Your invitation made me curious. I understood this contracts meeting was a formality.
I hope it will be.
Cullen can be difficult.
I've always found him fair-minded.
Yes, but a civil servant. Sometimes not wholly sympathetic with the problems of industry.
I thought your presence here might cut through a lot of red tape for us.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in action, too.
And I thought you'd be interested to be one of the first men to fly in the VTOL.
There's nothing you want to say to me privately?
I don't think so.
Well, I can relax and enjoy my flight, then.
I wasn't expecting you, Gerald.
I didn't expect to be here.
What is it?
I've been meddling and gossiping, Gordon.
With whom?
With Forbes, Henderson, Cunliffe, and now you.
What about?
Corbett.
I've got rather a lot of work to do,
So
Gerald.
have I. I'm not wasting your time.
You're interfering in my company. I can't listen to gossip.
Except that we appointed you chairman, Gordon. This is not your company. We're both partners in Elvison's.
Directors with equal seniority. This is my appointment.
Look, I'm not trying to quarrel with you, Gordon. It's just that Corbett's behavior is something that vitally affects you. I mean, today of all days, when you're considering voting him onto the group board.
I'm not considering, Gerald. I've decided long since.
And I'm not trying to alter that. But there are facts about Corbett that you should know. Well, they made me stop and think.
All right.
We inherited one tiger when we took over this company, John Wilder. And we should be careful not to elect another.
Look, Gerald, I admire your professional eloquence in public. In private, you can spare me.
Did you know that to this very delicate, critical production cost meeting, Corbett had invited Alistair Burton?
Yes, I have heard. He's already arrived.
Well, after you've warned him in my presence to watch his step with Burton. Well, don't you think Corbett's rather overstepping the limits of his authority?
Yes, I do. I've spoken to him. He's promised not to pledge us for any money until he knows where it's coming from.
That's something, but still.
You object to him usurping your political function.
Oh, I'm not jealous if that's what you mean. No, but we can't have a junior director taking so much upon himself.
I agree. I'm uneasy, but I don't think I can stop him.
Well, something else, then. Did you know that he's probably cost us any chance of an Australian sale?
Oh?
The head of the Australian Air Force mission, a friend of mine, telephoned me last night in high dudgeon because the VTOL demonstration arranged for today had been cancelled at short notice and without good reason.
By Corbett?
On Corbett's orders. So that he could show off by taking Burton for a joyride.
Well, how will that cost us the sale?
Well, they're leaving at the end of the week. Well, it's doubtful if they can fit it in now.
Well, they can't be very keen yet. This is merely an exploratory mission. The men who really buy aircraft are still in Canberra.
Oh, perhaps so, but that's not really the point, though, is it? I mean, next time it might be serious.
Yes, Corbett is a bit high-handed sometimes, won't let things take their proper course. Perhaps he'll have mellowed by the time we need him.
Wilder hasn't.
Set a thief, Gerald.
You can always get him off the board again.
All right, sir. Just about. I still can't get over that takeoff. It's like going up in some sort of super lift that suddenly sprouts wings. It's hard at first. Extraordinary sensation. We'll be back at the airfield in a minute. I'll do a couple of takeoffs and landings for you. Any chance of going supersonic? Not over St. Albans. We've our own problems with the noise abatement people. Yes, I expect you have. They make more noise complaining than the noise they're complaining about. It is a very real problem. We're over the field now. Bradley Heath, this is Victor 2-4. Height 2,000 feet. Turning finals for vertical landing on runway 36.
The minister knows one end of an aircraft from another. At least he's ex-RAF.
Yes, they usually are.
The civil service keeps them out of trouble.
Ah, here it comes.
The parliamentary secretary.
No, Walter Nichols. I wanted a chance for a few words. Tell me, confidentially, you're now estimating these revised production costs at roughly another 18 million.
That's right.
How much is it really going to be?
Just that.
Oh,
When I give you an estimate, barring accidents, is right.
your first figure wasn't.
I can't take the responsibility for that.
Aye, I heard.
Here comes Bert.
Ah, ready for his lunch, I expect.
I apologize for holding the meeting in my office, gentlemen, but as Sir Gordon explained, the boardroom is in use this afternoon. Anyway, this is a lot more comfortable than any of our conference rooms.
Oh, it evens the score. You outnumbered us during that very pleasant lunch. Now we outnumber you.
Well, we shouldn't be very long. Not long enough for the seats to start feeling uncomfortable anyway.
You know that we shall need an increase in the amount of the VTOL production contract.
Well, I wonder if I can find a shortcut here. We know the facts. We've all seen copies of this. I understand that Cullen's had all his experts go through your figures with a fine-tooth comb.
Yes, I have.
I also agreed the figures in principle with John Wilder.
So I believe.
Then let's talk from the assumption that we agree your proposals broadly and just see if we have any specific comments.
Fine.
Cullen?
I've nothing specific to argue about. As a matter of fact, I feel rather frustrated. It's not often I get such honest facts and figures to work from. At least, I assume they're honest.
Yes, they are.
Then I've just a couple of general observations. The first is, are you not being a wee bit over-optimistic about your development schedule?
There have been a number of press stories.
There were stories, and I must confess, until a few months ago, I had some slight sympathy with the pessimists.
Well, then?
But we've done most of the development work now, as I think Mr. Burton can testify after his flight. We're talking really not about the development schedule, but the production schedule.
Call it whatever you like.
The assumptions the production schedule are based upon are, one, that we won't run across any really major unexpected snags.
Ah, but what if you do?
We won't. I think I've made what are adequate allowances.
I know how highly Cullen thinks of your expertise.
The second assumption is that you want a crash program, that you're prepared to pay for all our available manpower and talent to see that the VTOL gets into service as quickly as possible.
Well, $58 million for a first production contract should get you off the dole for a while.
No, for a while. Mr. Cullen had another query?
Yes. All this flight testing, is it not rather a long-winded program?
Well, you see, Forbes knows what his job is, and it's a plane that we really have not had before. So we shall need all the time we can get to test the aircraft.
Well, I think we've about finished.
I have nothing else. Page?
No, nothing, sir.
There's one point I wanted to raise. The question of finance.
Well, what about it?
I understand you want us to cover it for the
Oh,
time
that's
being.
so. It's no secret that we've overspent on our estimates. I know we have a very bad reputation for late payment of bills, and I can't promise to do anything about that. But I can at least be honest with industry and give you due warning.
Well, that's fair, but what are the chances of spreading the load? Interim payments over the year, or some arrangement like that?
None. If you can't finance it, we can't ratify the extra costs.
But why didn't you mention this before? I understood. But tell me there's now some problem with the finance.
No, no. No problem at all. Not now.
Scott Furlong will find whatever proportion of the 18 million is required.
That's right.
Another board meeting put into limbo. Quite enough without Wilder.
And another director on the board.
Yes, indeed. I thought he acquitted himself quite well at that luncheon.
Yes, but he can be smooth enough when he wants to. Alistair Burton seemed to be getting very thick with him.
Yes, didn't it?
Well, I've done it now. If I'm wrong, you'll have another new boss soon.
Why, what's happened?
Never mind at the moment. If the board meeting's over, get hold of everybody you can. Use the tannoy telephone, phone the gate. I need a quorum.
Mr. Mayor, Miss Evans? What's this, Corbett?
I want to call another board meeting.
I heard you say so. What about?
Board business.
You haven't been a director 10 minutes yet. I call board meetings.
You'll call this one quickly enough. I want to stop people leaving.
You better tell me what's happened.
All right, Miss Evans, I'll call you.
Well?
I've just spent 18 million pounds.
You've done what?
I have just agreed with the ministry that we will find the money for our extra production costs.
I assume you want to call this meeting of the board to tender your resignation. That won't be necessary. I accept it on their behalf.
Are you asking me to leave?
No. But you'll want to resign from the group board?
No, I won't.
I'm trying very hard not to lose my temper with you. You've shown yourself to be utterly irresponsible and quite unfitted for a directorship of this group.
On the contrary, I've seen something that we should all have realized a long time ago.
I'm sure you must think you have good reason.
Will you agree that all of this has been engineered by Wilder, so that I will come a gigantic cropper?
You must have exceeded his most optimistic expectations.
Apart from discrediting me, though, there's only one way that he can turn this to his own advantage.
How?
He must be able to come back, wave his magic wand, and bring us all out of the muck. Boy genius John Wilder does it again. He's already got that money, you know. Wilder's got 18 million up his sleeve.
You might be right.
Of course I'm right.
It's impossible for Wilder to find that much money without raising ripples. Should be the easiest thing in the world to find out who from.
Good, then find out who from. And you make the arrangements before he gets back.
Don't see why not. Leave Wilder looking foolish for a change?
Well, it's about time.
I think I will.
How very nice to see you again. It was good of you to find the time.
I think you may be doing me a favor.
I'm not sure. It suddenly got through to my slow brain that you might really be serious about this money.
We are.
I thought it was worth a check. Why did Revage send Corbett there?
David Corbett was acting on his own initiative.
Well, he very nearly came to the right place. He's either lucky or very clever.
Clever. Can you help?
You know, I've been trying to get
a relationship with the bank on the accepting houses committee. I'm only a Johnny-come-lately in the city.
A successful Johnny-come-lately.
I need the entree.
I can't promise much. Our usual sources.
Can you promise anything?
Sir Gordon might.
How much do you need?
I must confess, I'm totally at a loss. You missed something. I missed nothing. I've checked everywhere.
Wilder's got this money. It must have been promised to him, or none of this makes sense.
On the face of it, you're right. But it's no one in the city. A dozen phone calls, I can tell you who's borrowed 50,000. There's so much overlapping, you can't find millions quietly.
Well, then, if it's not in the city, it's somewhere else.
There's only one possibility left. Merle's checking there now. If you hadn't pledged us to the ministry...
If I hadn't, there'd be two problems now. We'd still have to find the money, and we'd have an angry minister.
Oh, I'm glad to find you here too, David.
Where have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere.
I found the money.
Wilder's money?
No, quite independent.
Well, that's even better.
Who from?
Louis Heldman.
Helmet.
Yes.
Can we afford Heldman?
0.5% over bank rate and a very few concessions which actually benefit us.
What concessions?
We can go into those later. But you have my assurance there'll be nothing you'll object to.
Well, looks as if I have to congratulate you.
Yeah? Gordon? Gerald Merle here. Sorry to have been so long. I've just come from the minister. You were quite right.
Oh.
I was very careful. He still thinks we knew all about it. Just never thought to mention it. As Wilder gambled he wouldn't.
All right, Gerald. Thank you. Don't do anything else. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Right. Goodbye, Gordon.
I underrated Wilder.
What's happened?
I couldn't find any trace of that loan because it hasn't been made yet. Wilder simply got the minister to agree to bring a very little pressure to bear on one of the joint stock banks. Wouldn't need pressure. Just a nod from the Chancellor towards some chairman waiting for his knighthood, and there's the money.
And Wilder tells him when?
On Wilder's terms and at Wilder's timing.
You can still upset Wilder's timing if you want to by arranging it before he gets back.
Wilder knows you very well. If you'd admitted at that ministry meeting that you were having difficulty finding the money, you'd have discovered that it was already promised, and who from. He counted on your stubbornness and vanity not to do so. And he was right.
Well, perhaps so, but you've got him now.
No, I'm risking nothing more.
How risky?
My company and my bank have been made to look ludicrous in the city. Now the minister's involved. I'm taking no chance whatsoever of being made look foolish before the government.
But you won't look foolish if you finalize the loan before he gets back.
You are not as experienced yet as I'd hoped. Every step of the way, Wilder anticipated us. He's been a long time planning this. Who knows what he's told the minister?
Well, then find out.
And admit he's outmaneuvered me. The stakes are too high. This time, I'm taking no chance. This time, we do it Wilder's way.